It's Monday. You know what that means.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of SAP Wrestling Podcast Review. I'm one of your hosts, 617. The man to my left is the man, the myth, the legend, the Paul Hayman guy, Puppet Master 2191. And as you can guess it from our little Tron over here that we got what we're discussing, and for the title, we're going over the life and career of the legend, the great Paul Heyman.
The GOAT! No, he's the GOAT!
He ain't dead. He's still alive and kicking. Eating at McDonald's right now, probably. Who knows? But we're going to go over his career just because he's influential. The man's a legend. No matter who he promotes, shoots up the ranks. So, actually, you know what? Let's start this off with an announcement. Puppet, you got an announcement to make? About
Yes, I do. So, I'm affiliated with Rogue Energy. If you do need Rogue Energy, go to rogueenergy.com, fill it out. As you go to checkout, use code PuppetMaster. It's actually a really good product, no sugar. It fits actually most diets, which is crazy.
1 gram of carb per serving.
Yep, and you don't have the hard crash.
70 milligrams of sodium, 1 gram of carb per serving, 185 grams of vitamin C, 15 grams of vitamin B3, 13 milligrams of vitamin B6, 400 mcg of B12. I mean, the list goes on. I mean, I got tub right here. I got great popsicle. That's what's in this motherfucker right here, and it's pretty damn good.
So they've got, I know they've got like a bunch of different kinds, like different styles. They've got the Great Popsicle, their regular line. There's an extreme line, which is green apple and strawberry lemonade. And then they also have a shake, which is cookies and cream. And instead of mixing that, with water, you mix that with milk. So you got plenty of different options. If you're ever intrigued in looking up alternative energy methods, check out Rogue Energy. Not bad.
$30 for a tub. 1 scoop
and it's what?
Per serving. 30 servings of the whole entire thing. Averages out to $1 a serving.
It's not bad at all.
$2.50, $3, $4 for an energy drink at the store. So, I mean, you might as well switch the alternative.
Not only that, you don't really have to leave your house to go get it. You just order it, and they send it to your door.
Just get some cold water, put it in a shaker, put a scoop or two in there. You do this, and you're ready to
go. So, our topic is...
Paul, I said I'm going to work on getting affiliate with them, too. I'm affiliated with Rays, but, you know, I like to listen to this better.
I was going to say, you made your order. Do you want to share your experience with your order?
10 of 10. We'll get again. I recommend the Great Popsicle. Good. It's pretty damn good.
I've heard the Great Popsicle is good. The Blue Raspberry is good. And the Strawberry Lemonade is good. The kicker to the Strawberry Lemonade and the Green Apple is they're $5 more. But they are also, they're the extreme line, so they have a little bit more, they have more vitamins in them, essentially.
I also think you get more servings out of those too. I think you get 40.
Yeah, I think, yeah, you get 10 more servings out of it. So
I have them somewhere.
No, it's 40 servings.
Yeah. I mean, it's good. You can't go wrong with it. It tastes good. And the thing that I was concerned about, because I've heard the reviews of powdered energy drinks. When you mix them up and everything, it leaves the residue, the chalky taste whenever you drink it. The shit dissolved pretty good. I mean, I made this about 2 hours ago. Put it in the fridge over here and left it. And
see, part of that reason is because of that scoop. It's precisely how much you need in order for it to dissolve into the water, which is a kind of, a benefit. I get like the water flavor packets that you just pour in the bottles of water and shake them. Some of them dissolve really good. Some of them leave a residue or clump up at the bottom, and it's one of those things where it's just a little too much for the amount of water that you've got.
And the best
But
thing
with that,
is, that's the scoop right there. Farmer coming in with that raid. What's going on, brother? If you look at the stream, you can see the scoop. It's a small scoop, so it
yeah,
doesn't take a whole lot to make one drink. I mean, you just mix it in and boom. Also, they put looks like silica gel packs in here too for it to keep it dry.
yeah, I think so.
Not bad. Yep, I'm going to work on getting affiliated with them. I like their product. Their product is good. Relatively quick. You got affiliated when?
I think last week.
Last Wednesday? I placed, no, it was Thursday. You made the announcement Thursday. I placed the
Yeah,
order Friday. It came today.
yeah.
So, yeah, not bad. Nah, not G Fuel. It's Rogue. Rogue Energy. Sugar free, which is good for diabetics. So if you're diabetic and you're looking for a good energy drink, go with Rogue. All right, Puppet. Today's topic.
Today's topic is the goat.
The goat.
The goat on a micro. Well, okay, one of the goats on a microphone.
Not only that, the goat at backstage promotion and pretty much everything in wrestling. This dude's been doing wrestling since he was 13.
Yes, he started off as a photographer, working with Vince McMahon Sr.
Jim Crockett Promotions, from what I saw.
He did both. He was freelance, but he always credits like his he credits. I actually think he credits Freddie Blassie for getting him in, but he did all of like the Madison Square Garden shows because he was New York, New Jersey area.
Right.
But anytime they were in the area, he would do the photographers, and Vince would buy the photos from him,
Yep.
or the he would buy the rights for the photos.
Right. He decided he wanted to get into professional wrestling when he saw the Vince McMahon interview superstar Billy Graham. And at that point, he was pretty much hooked on wrestling. And went gung ho, hardcore in it, and never stopped. And look at him now. Dude's in his late 40s?
Yes.
At least. Born in 1966, 54. Paul Hayman, 54. Born in the Bronx, New York. It's a little old backwoods Bronx boy.
Yep. Which is not a bad thing. Especially 13 years old, and he's going to these shows that a lot of people aren't getting to see because I want to say at that time they weren't like widely televised.
Right.
But he's in Madison Square Garden taking pictures of Andre, taking pictures of Billy Graham, Dusty Rhodes,
and selling them.
Yeah, and then selling them to the man that owns the promotion.
Right, so he can use them for his magazine and whatnot that he puts out, and
Yeah,
use it on the cards and everything for future events. So,
not only that, but also to be taken under the wing of someone like Freddie Blassie. It kind of shows where he adapted the style that he has. He adapted the microphone skills, the how to present yourself as a manager, and or in his case, an advocate or special advisor. He's had many titles. He's had many names. WCW, he was Paulie Dangerously.
right.
And he had a stable of the Dangerous Alliance, which was Arn Anderson, Rick Rude, Steve Austin,
Right.
and I can't Bobby Eaton.
Right.
I mean, just the name, like that one stable before ECW was even a thing.
Right.
That one stable, when you look at it, it was Arn Anderson, who is a legend in his own right, probably one of the best technically sound wrestlers. Rick Rude, who everyone knows who he is and the promos that he cut and everything. Steve Austin, I'm sorry, Stunning Steve at the time, who later became Stone Cold Steve Austin, and in the mid to late '90s
Right.
lit the wrestling world on fire. And Bobby Eaton, who was such an underrated worker. Um, like it's really hard to find a bad Bobby Eaton match,
Right.
but like this man had, like he knew what he was doing. He knew what the people that he was looking at and what their abilities were.
Right.
Um, and if someone had a hard time on the microphone, that's what he was there for. He could cover that, so they could cover what they were really good at.
Right.
Um, and if they didn't need him on the microphone, he was just there to be the heater.
Right.
Because Rick Rude didn't need anyone on the microphone. Arn Anderson didn't need anyone on the microphone. You know,
Right.
not to toot my own horn, but toot toot. You know,
Exactly.
like Arn didn't need anyone on a microphone, and in all honesty, Rick Rude and Arn Anderson didn't need the heater. But you know what? Putting Heyman with them made them be able to pull the heat so much easier.
Right. Paul Heyman's just that guy that you love to
You
hate.
Yes, he's that guy that
You
you
love what he
love to
does,
hate.
but you also hate what he does at the same time. So
Like,
let's talk 1988 when he made the
okay,
jump to Jim Crockett Promotions. And
yep.
as the manager of the original Midnight Express in their feud with the new Midnight Express.
Was he? Yes, he was, because Cornette had the new Midnight Express.
Right. Cornette had the new Midnight
Yeah.
Express of Eaton and Stan Lane. And Paulie Dangerously was the manager of the original Midnight Express in that feud. And you also
Yes.
can't forget in 1988, Mark Calloway, aka The Undertaker, was in Jim Crockett Promotions as me, Mark Callis, and
And
Paul
and
Heyman was
he did
also
have
his manager.
yes.
So
So
at one point, Paul Heyman was, or sorry, Mark Calloway, The Undertaker was a Paul Heyman guy at
so
one point in his career.
we're what 20 minutes into this, and we've already named off five legendary names that were associated with Heyman in the early days.
We've been talking to Paul Heyman for 10 minutes.
Okay,
We're 17 minutes
and
in. We've been talking Paul Heyman for 10 minutes because we had the first like 5 to 7 minutes of going
yeah,
over the
shameless
sponsorship,
plugs,
shameless plugs,
shameless plugs, and
and
cheap
we've
pops.
already
Hey,
named most of your like a
five.
lot of your top superstars.
Like, yeah, it's we're just getting started. That's the crazy part. We haven't even gotten to ECW. We haven't even gotten to when he shocked the world and showed up in WWE.
Right, and then let's see,
So
what was it? 91, WCW needed to restructure its heels, so they brought Paul Heyman in as the role of the spokesman and ringside manager to the managers of the Dangerous Alliance.
yep. And you
Started
know
off
what's
pretty
great?
dark.
What's crazy about that, and probably one of my favorite things, is I remember seeing this, and he had that big old block cell phone,
Right,
and he would use that thing like it was a brick, and like again, he would draw heat when the heat was needed, and it didn't make sense for the heel in the match or the face to do something out of the ordinary.
right,
It was just a simple grab the boot leg trip,
right.
or they're kind of bent over, pop them with the cell phone.
Exactly.
Like,
Something when the ref is not looking, just to cause just a little bit of a distraction to
or
make the
or
crowd hate you, but to get your guy over.
or if the heel is trying to say they've got that abdominal stretch in and they're right there near the ropes, but they can't really get it because the ref
Right.
Heyman up on the apron. Ref is over him. They grab that rope and just pull a little bit extra.
Just cinching in extra tight.
You know, it's those small things. Honestly, it's those small things as a manager or someone outside the ring
Right.
that showcased what they were there for.
Right. Now it says here, according to Hayman, he and Stone Cold learned their craft from Rick Rude.
Yes,
So they learned to be better at what they do by watching Rick Rude
Rick. Yeah,
do what he does.
and that was the whole reason of Rude being in that dangerous alliance or
Right.
deadly alliance.
Right. And
Um,
over the course of the Dangerous Alliance, he led Rick Rude to the US Championship and the Anderson Eaton tag team to the tag team titles as well. And pretty much the Dangerous Alliance dominated WCW through most of '92.
yeah, because I think the end of the Dangerous Alliance is when Stunning Steve got that TV title.
Right. Yeah, that's when Stunning
But
Steve was kind of on his high note in WCW before.
and that was before the formation of the Blondes, the Hollywood Blondes, him and Pillman.
Right.
Um, but yes, like that's again, we're not even that far into this episode, and we've listed off, legends
Right.
that are associated with Heyman in some way, shape, and or form.
Right.
Um, and that was mostly the extent of his WCW run. I actually, for some reason, I feel like the Deadly Alliance Rick Rude thing was also like the one of the first times we saw Medusa on TV,
Right.
because I think Medusa was the valet to
Yeah.
Rude. I'm not hundred
Yeah. Yeah.
percent sure on
Yeah. I think she was.
that, but if I remember correctly, it was Medusa.
Right.
But there again, there's another legend right there. Um, but the stories that they had were really good, especially with Rude, because some of his memorable feuds in WCW at that time was Rude staying for that U.S. Championship.
Right.
You're working with the quintessential WCW guy.
Right.
I mean, a lot of people are like, Ric Flair. No, Ric Flair was wrestling.
Right.
Sting was the WCW homegrown, home-crafted guy.
Right. WCW all the way. Never even thought about leaving.
And it's funny because when he showed up to Jim Crockett Promotions, Dusty saw him in the back and he pulled him to one of the side curtains, and he had him watching this match, and he goes, "See that, baby? We're gonna call you the Stinger, and we're gonna put you in all these bright colors, and all these kids are gonna love you." Like, I mean,
Yeah, because you're back in the day of, Hulk Hogan, Hulkamania. He's coming out there
yellow and
bright
red,
yellow and red and everything coming out and whatnot. I mean, dark colors
the
weren't really
ultimate,
a big thing back then. It was all
the
flashy.
Ultimate Warrior,
Exactly. It was all flashy and everything and whatnot.
which
Warrior comes out with the Warrior face paint and they turn around and put Sting in something similar to that.
and what? So here's a side note on this one. The funny thing is, so Warrior and Sting were team, or was a tag team. They were the Blade Runners.
Right.
They did face paint, dark color, black. Actually, they were all black.
Right.
Black face paint, black gear, little black strip across the bicep. That was their gimmick.
Right.
So Warrior goes to the WWE, Sting goes to Jim Crockett Promotions, and they are almost exact same gimmick change.
Yeah.
Warrior is in these bright colors. He's got the arm tassels, and just full force high energy in your face.
Full of that
Then you
cocaine
got
energy.
then you've got Sting over here on the other side. He's Surfer Dude. He's got the bleach blonde flat top with the rat tail, the bright colored tights, the boots that are, normally they
Exactly.
were white, sometimes they were black, and then the face paint that matched whatever colors the gear.
Coming out
And it
looking like
was,
he just stepped out of the water from Venice Beach.
yeah, and like it was for the time, it was ingenious, and some of the promos that were cut between Sting, Root, and Heyman are some of the best.
Right.
Um, Now again, Rick Rude, for the most part, in Rude's stuff, he did his own promos and talking,
Right.
and that's where Heyman got to firsthand right there in the center of it, got to watch and learn, and started adapting and getting his understanding what was going on. But Paul Heyman's genius really doesn't show until the next phase of
19,
Heyman's career
1993 when he departed WCW
for
and
East
went
Coast or
no
East.
and went with Jim Crockett or with Jim
Yeah,
Crockett Jr. and went with NWA Eastern and later on ECW.
yeah, and I think it was Eastern Continental Wrestling or something like that
Let's see, was it
originally.
Northwestern Alliance Eastern Championship Wrestling?
Yeah, Eastern Championship
Yeah.
Wrestling.
Yep.
So
Later to be dubbed Extreme Championship Wrestling. Basically, what happened was they left. He got with Jim Crockett Jr. down in Texas. He wanted to start a new organization, but him and Crockett didn't see eye to eye on how to form this because Crockett wanted more of a traditional style wrestling, whereas Paul Heyman saw traditional wrestling to be antiquated and old and needed something new to bring life back into it. And he was thinking more something extreme than what everybody sees. Because, I mean, you gotta think about it. If it's the same shit over and over and over, people are gonna get tired of it. They're gonna stop watching it. Look at WWE. Their ratings have dropped because they haven't changed their programming in the last 10 years.
well, and at the same time, you stop and you look at it, and WCW was full of all these gimmicky characters.
Right.
WWF was full
Seven.
of all of these
Seven.
these what? Huh? What?
You said gimmicky characters. The first one that comes to mind is Seven.
Oh, what? That was later. That was a weird character. I wouldn't even call that one gimmicky. That was more
That was just
jail.
fucking. That was a
That
slap.
was more jelly.
That was
Um,
slap. That was a slap in Dustin
yeah.
Rhodes' face.
But I mean, at the time, you had like all of these cartoon comic book
Right. Superheroes and
superhero-y gimmicky stuff.
right. Now we're keep in mind
Oh,
we're in the era when all this was going on. We're in the era where comic book superheroes were big.
right.
They didn't really have the blockbuster movies like we have now. So the
Right.
wrestling organization decided, you know what, we're going to capitalize on this. We're going to give the people somebody to watch, and we're going to create our own comic book superheroes, and we're going to bring them to life.
But both of your promotions were in that, like WCW and WWF were both in that phase. Heyman was like, at some point, this demographic that you're reaching out to is getting older,
Right.
and they're not into this style.
Right. Exactly.
They're not as in a fictional world.
Exactly.
Um,
And even then, I mean, that your original viewers that were into this are older now, and they're not really watching it because they're no longer into the comic book phase. These people are off to college, they're off to work.
it's kiddish, it's childish,
Right.
and
They've grown up and they've matured, and they're not into that no more. So now you got to change it, and not to mention these people that have grown up, they have kids now, and these kids aren't necessarily into this era. So it's got to change.
correct.
You have to adapt to what your viewers want now. So you got to
And
change.
like one of Paul Heyman's greatest ideas when he was in Eastern Championship Wrestling was, we need Shane Douglas.
Right.
Yes, we've seen him on WWE, and he was the dean, and this, that, and the other, and him and some other people backstage didn't quite see eye to eye, and well, he was gone because the others were more important.
Right.
But Heyman saw past that and saw the ability and saw how controversial he could be.
Right.
And Eastern Championship Wrestling then became Extreme Championship Wrestling
Right.
the night that Shane Douglas won the tournament and was going to be crowned the new NWA champion. And he cut the promo holding the NWA championship with the uh, Eastern Championship Wrestling title and threw the 10 pounds of gold on the ground and said, "That title means nothing to me." And held up the ECW belt and said, "This means more to me than that ever will."
Exactly. When Shane basically declared the NWA a dead organization
Yeah,
and
was dead.
declared ECW as a world level championship.
Yes.
And it was that point, that Paul Heyman brought in other, more renowned wrestlers like Sabu and 9/11, and thus
He
ECW was born.
had Sabu, he had Sandman, he had Dream, he had Raven, he had 911, he knew Jack.
Right.
I mean, like
Scorpio.
as it, yeah, Too Cold Scorpio,
It was
and
actually
because of Scorpio, he had that musical relationship with,
right. And the
and they
funny
were
the funny
sponsoring
thing
ECW, and it was
the funny thing about Scorpio is a lot of people don't realize is that McMahon liked Scorpio. And him and Paul Heyman, when he was in ECW, worked out an agreement that when McMahon wanted Scorpio, he'd pay Paul Heyman $1,000 a week to rent Scorpio to be
yeah.
on WWE in the WWF at the time.
Yeah, and that's funny because Too Cold Scorpio, who was Flash Funk in the WWF,
Right, was on
was never
rent.
really was never really on a contract with the WWF. He was being rented from his contract
Right,
with ECW.
and a lot of backstage, back behind the scenes stuff that people don't realize is that Paul Heyman, when he was ECW, and Vince McMahon had worked out an agreement that if there were some superstars on WWF that needed character work or they needed to, work on their mic skills or their in-ring skills, Vince would send them down to ECW under his own payroll to work with those guys to develop their talents before bringing them back. And if there was
Yeah,
anybody that Vince wanted as a filler from ECW, then he basically would just rent them from Paul Heyman and bring them into the WWF under different names to fill the
the
gap until these guys came back.
the two most memorable ones are Doug Furnace, Phil LaFon, um, were WWF contracted and they were wrestling in ECW,
Right.
under their WWF names, and I mean, you start looking at it, but then you would see Jerry Lawler show up and start an interesting concept of WWF and how ECW is extremely crappy wrestling and everything going there, and then you would see ECW featured on an episode of Monday Night Raw,
Right.
and you saw Sabu jump off of the big A when him and I think it was Rob Van. It was either him and Rob Van Dam or him and Taz. It was against one of the two, but off from the top of this big huge A that the wrestlers were entering out of.
Right.
Here comes Sabu off the top of it. That was the first time that you saw the Eliminators. You saw the Pit Bulls. You saw Taz. You saw RVD. You saw Sabu. You saw Sandman. You saw all these people on an episode of Raw, and it was that working. Officially it was the first working relationship within United States uh, professional wrestling, um, that showcased both two separate companies on one show. It was a one-time show,
Right.
but it was a good. I mean, it was a memorable show.
Right.
And a lot of people, people will say, well, no, because you had the NWA, the National Wrestling Alliance. Here's the thing with that: the NWA was territory days, and it was the heads of all of these territories meeting together. We're gonna have one champion that travels to all of these territories. That worked at the time because you could send your NWA champion. You could send them to a territory, let them work a program out, get get you a new star in your territory, and then ship him to the next one. Send the champ to the next one to do the same thing, rinse and repeat. And
Right.
by the time he makes it back to the first territory he was in, he's white hot in a new program that someone hasn't seen and they're excited. He was a commodity because territories at the time, you saw him for 4 or 5 weeks and then he was gone for 2 3 months
Right.
before he's back to your territory.
And not to mention, he's got the experience from the other organizations and working with different people that he can
Correct.
bring back to your industry and pass that information on to the new guys that are brought up and everything as well.
Correct. And when the champion gets into a territory, he's like, "Hey, this person down in Florida is hot, but their contract's coming up. You may be able to offer him a little bit more and get him up here." you know,
Exactly.
like at that point, the wrestlers were genuinely taking care not only of themselves but of their business.
Right.
They were making sure that they're
It
they were
wasn't
making
a,
sure everyone was getting a piece of the pie.
exactly. It wasn't about how much money can I make to better myself. It was like, what can I do to improve what we have as a collective? It's like you need to make money. I need to make money. This guy needs to make money. So let's bring this guy in so we can draw a bigger crowd because he's good at what he does. We get more people in, we sell more items, and we get more people in the seats. We make more money. We all benefit.
Right. And that's one of those things where, and when you stop and look at it, Vince McMahon Senior was technically part of the NWA.
Right.
Now the company didn't necessarily partake that much in NWA stuff, but Vince McMahon Senior was one of the heads on the NWA committee.
Right.
Um, and then when Vince got the company, that's when Vince started buying the territories.
Right.
But I mean, okay, stop and think bigger picture. Vince saw the bigger picture. Vince Jr. saw the bigger picture. That the
Exactly.
territory system wasn't going to work forever.
Right.
And at some point, someone was going to have to, hey, you want to see professional wrestling? It's here.
Exactly. He saw the
And
old territory system as being antiquated and needed to change.
yeah, now you fast forward, Paul Heyman is looking at this and he's, hey, this isn't working. It's time for a change. And then ECW is just created. Not like the promotion itself. Well, I mean, technically the promotion itself, it was just a name change, but the concept, the wrestling, the raw, unfiltered professional wrestling.
Right.
Yes, fans got set on fire in the crowds. Yes, people got hurt in the crowds. Yes, there was a lot of blood and gore and barbed wire
Right.
and tables on fire and people going through this stuff.
10 tables stacked up and somebody powerbombed through all of them into the
Yeah,
crowds.
like it did it have its flaws? Yes, it had its flaws. But did it start the change in professional wrestling that was needed at the time?
Yes.
Yes. Especially when you look and just the people that went through ECW.
Right.
You've got Steve Austin, Brian Pillman, Mick Foley, aka Cactus Jack, aka Dude Love, aka Mankind, aka whatever you want to call him, Santa Claus.
Right.
Um,
Terry Funk, Chainsaw
yeah,
Charlie,
Terry Funk,
aka Chainsaw
Dust,
Charlie.
Dusty Rhodes, Shane Douglas,
Sabu.
ECW's where our Van Dam
Right.
literally broke his teeth in the wrestling business. Well, not literally, but that's where he cut his teeth in the wrestling business.
Right.
Sabu, Sandman, Tommy Dreamer, um,
RVD.
Taz. Yeah,
I think you said RVD.
yeah, Taz, Perry Saturn, Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio Jr., Chris Jericho, the
Raven.
other Chris that we won't name,
Yeah.
Raven. Um, like there's so many people that were there. Like Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, Juventud Guerrero, Psychosis. That's where they got their start in America was ECW, and then WCW saw it and wanted a cruiserweight division and got these guys. Dean Malenko was in WCW or was in ECW. One of
Right.
the greatest matches that did not involve any hardcore or anything was Dean Malenko versus Eddie Guerrero, where they went for about 45 minutes. And when it was over, the entire ECW arena, the Hammerstein Ballroom, everyone in that building was standing on their feet, applauding, saying, "Thank you. Please don't go."
Right.
Not to one, but to both men.
Let's see. Some other notable names: Mike Austin, Just Incredible,
Yes.
Rhino, Bam Bam Bigelow. I think you got Lance Storm. Stevie Richards was in there. Mikey Whipwreck, Dean Malenko, Jerry Lynn,
Um,
New Jack.
Nova.
Can't forget New Jack.
Yeah.
Steve Carino,
Nova. Kid
Scorpio,
Cash.
CM
Like
Punk,
I don't think he ever made it to ECW.
Balls Mahoney.
Yeah, balls.
Dude,
God,
you left
you
off
want to
the.
talk about?
Did you name the Dudleys?
No, I hadn't got there yet.
Bubba Ray, Devon, and Spike Dudley, Chris Candido.
No, no, no. Hold on, hold on. When you talk about the Dudleys, there was more than those three.
Oh yeah,
There was
you're
Sign Guy
right.
Dudley. There was Big Dick Dudley. There was from another and the Dudleys. That's why I kind of left them off just now for a moment because the Dudley Boys was legitimately an interesting gimmick, stable family. So Papa Dudley apparently had got a had illegitimate kids from different places with different females, and
Right.
that's where Big Dick Dudley came from. Sign Guy Dudley came from. Spike Dudley, uh, Devon, the only black man in the, which was like, and the interesting concept was the story between Bubba and Devon was they started off as a feud together because Bubba looked at him and said, "Do you not see we look just alike?"
Now, CM Punk was ECW from 2006 to 2008. And he defeated
Yeah,
Stevie Richards
that's
for in there in his debut, but he was also the ECW champion in 2007.
yeah, but that's not ECW.
That was
That's
WWE ECW.
WWE ECW.
Right, but
that
he's
wasn't Paul
still
Heyman's
right, but
creation.
he's still credited as being part of ECW.
Yeah, but
Unfortunately.
there's a difference. That's why I
Oh,
was
I know,
breaking like
I know.
now
Chris Candido,
there
Tajiri,
is
Al Snow,
there is a
Francine,
connection. There is a connection for CM Punk, Paul Heyman that we'll get to here in a little bit.
Axel
But
Rotten.
yes, um, some of the most talented wrestlers. Now, I'm not going to say all of them were, but most of them. Some of the most talented wrestlers that no one had ever seen.
Right.
Lance Storm,
Yep.
Jerry Lynn, Tommy Dreamer. Raven eventually got seen through WCW, so did Lance Storm. But, you know, just incredible. Mike Awesome. Oh my God, Mike Awesome was so underrated
Yeah.
and so strong to not even look that strong. But also at that time, ECW was flying in people from Japan as well.
Right.
Because I think Misawa was one of their was there at one time. Um, but like you had all of these. Paul Heyman's thought on wrestling was to bring all of these different styles into one place and let them showcase what they can do.
Right. You talking about
Luch,
Masato Tanaka?
yeah, Masato Tanaka.
Yeah. Yeah, he's from Japan. He was brought in too.
Um, but you know, you had lucha libre, you had Japanese strong style, you had hardcore, you had technical, you had this, you had that. You had people that could cut promos, you had people that didn't need to cut promos, you had people coming in through the crowds with kendo sticks and beer. I
Bashing
mean,
himself in the head with a beer can after chugging it.
yeah, and, you know, you had all of these. You had these. You had these people that seemed like you could go outside and find someone in your neighborhood that was like this person.
Yep.
Except for maybe the Dudleys. Dudleys was that was kind of gimmicky, but it worked.
You got
Um,
Rhino, who's not afraid to spear people through a table.
yeah, like
Bam Bam Bigelow.
uh, the Bam Bam Bigelow Taz feud where Taz, I think he T-bone suplexes Bigelow, and Bigelow goes through the ring.
Right.
Like, you know, you've got all of these people that were here, and in the stories that you'll hear is all kinds of things. But the one story that is in common was how Paul Heyman could take this roster and almost incite them into a riot before every show they did.
Right. And one of the best, like, I watched the My Name is Paul Heyman documentary that they had, and they had,
Such a good documentary.
yes,
If you've
and
not
like,
watched it,
and it
watch
showed like one of the backstage speeches that he gave to the ECW guys whenever they were on the downward spiral going down where they didn't have money. And he basically told the guys, he's like, now we're going to go out there. You know, we've got a, it's a semi full arena. It may fill up as the show progresses on. He's like, I can't guarantee that I'm going to be able to pay all of you. So whether you want to go out there and perform or not is really up to you. But if you do go out there, I ask that you put on the best damn show that you can so we can try and fill this place up. He's like, the card is on the chalkboard over here. Get with your guy, get the match ready, get prepared and everything. If you don't want to go out there because the thought that you might not be paid, let me know. We'll find somebody to take your place. And then after
yeah,
that, they kind of showed the matches and everything that was on the board. All the
was
superstars
there.
went down and did their fucking job, whether or not they got paid or not, because they love what they did.
And the other thing was Heyman knew the financial situation. Did he hide it from the superstars?
No.
Kind of, well, he
Well,
did in a
he
way,
did in a way, but at the same time,
but
he was upfront, but he was a little lenient with the
yeah, but
situation they were in.
not only that, he was working to get Taz signed with WWE. He was working to get make sure Mike Awesome was going to WCW. Make sure Raven was okay in WCW. Make sure this person that was Sandman, Sabu, like all of these wrestlers that were there, the Dudleys going to the WWF. Like he made sure the guys that were there had his back, regardless of if the check may bounce higher than a super bouncy ball.
Right.
But you know what? I'm gonna make sure when this place closes, you got somewhere that you're going.
Right. And I remember they interviewed somebody. I can't remember who it was, but it might have been Tommy Dreamer or somebody, but he wouldn't, like, he says, there's numerous times, that I was given my check for my night's work and I went to the bank and it bounced. He's like, it
Yeah,
bounced hard. He's like, and I went to Paul and I said,
it was
hey,
it was Dreamer.
he was like, hey, this check bounced. And Paul was like, he's like, I'm not gonna lie to you. He's like, money's tight. He said, but at that time, if Paul had money in his wallet, he said there had been a couple of times where Paul opened his wallet and gave me every dime that he had in his wallet.
Yeah,
He's
you
like,
know that.
it
I,
wasn't enough to pay what I needed. He's like, fuck no, it wasn't enough to pay what I needed. But the thought
but the man,
that
yeah,
he
he wanted
cared
to make sure that
enough,
I got
right?
something.
The man
Yeah,
cared enough to make sure that I got that he went without just so that I could actually maybe afford a meal to get me through the day and
no, yeah,
everything.
that was Tommy Dreamer. I know that. I remember that part from that DVD where Tommy was like, there would be days where I want to punch him in the face, and there would be days that I would have his back through hell and high water.
Right.
There'd be times where I'd get paid and they would bounce, or I'd get a check and I'd call Paul and be like, Paul,
Is this going to
if I
clear?
go to cash this, is this going to clear?
Right.
And he would
Exactly. And
tell me,
yes or no.
yeah,
And I believe
um,
it was also Dreamer that says like, and it's like looking back, would I change anything? Like
not a
would I
thing.
go to another organization knowing that I would have to put up with whether or not I was going to get paid or not? And Dreamer was like, no. He's like, hey, if I had to do it all over again, I'd do it the exact same way because we had
Yep,
fun.
yeah,
There were
and
no
like and that,
backstage brawls between the superstars. Everybody got along. Everybody knew what they had to do, and
now
everybody
there's
helped out.
probably another reason why there weren't that many backstage brawls. Due to the backstage um party bowls is what I'll call them. New Jack's famous for saying, "Hey, there at one point in time you could walk backstage in ECW at ECW, and whichever drug was your vice was there."
Right.
And he was like, you
Guys in
needed
the
coke,
corner
it
smoking
was there.
weed. There's lines of coke on the
Um,
table. There's fucking alcohol.
he was like, whatever your vice was, it was there backstage. It was
Right.
guaranteed. Um,
It
but
was a
it
party.
also it also goes to show you they were there having like, was it the safest kind of fun? God no.
Right.
I don't know how. Like New Jack took one jump and then he looked at something that was even higher. And was like, you know what? I'm gonna dive off that this time. And then he realized, you know what? If I'm gonna jump off these goddamn things, I'm gonna get paid for this. Polly, you want me off that? You are gonna have to pay a little extra.
Right. Exactly. Yeah,
Like, but I
and it was
mean,
like I remember like growing up in this era of WCW, WWE, or WWF, and ECW, and I had a little clique that I ran with in high school, and my freshman year, and we watched it. Like we tried to keep up with it as best as we could, and it finally got to the point where when WCW had a pay per view, one person's family would pick it up, and we would all go to that house and kind of
yeah,
chip in a few bucks to help out because back then the pay per views were like 20-25 bucks, so if you
yeah,
get like
I
five,
think
10 kids
you're
over watching, everybody chips in a couple bucks, it's paid for. And then
yeah, it was like WCW pay per views were like 20, 25, and then WWF pay per views were 30, 35.
right, and ECW was like $40 or $45 or something to watch. And it's like another family would do ECW, and then another family would do WWE, and we all kind of
Yeah,
rotated and did all that. So it was like trying to stay up to date and keep up with everything that's going on. And you're talking back in the day when the internet was dial up. You didn't really have a whole lot of sites that you could go to, So you got the subscription to the magazines, so WCW magazine, WWF magazine, ECW magazine to try and stay up to date. And we're talking no DVRs. DVD wasn't even a thing back then. You're talking VHS tapes with a VCR. And if you were lucky enough to be able to have cable TV and a VCR, you could watch WCW or WWF and record the other one, and then the next day watch it to keep up and stay up to date and everything. And a lot of times, what we do is like one of us would watch WWF, the other would watch WCW, and then on Tuesday at lunch or in school or whatnot, we got together and we discussed what we had going on. What we saw, what happened on WWF, and then what happened on WCW and everything. And that was how you did it back then. I mean, there wasn't everything you have now where you can stream it on Hulu or watch it or whatever, anything like that, you know.
Correct.
And everything
You
was on at
you
the
had
same fucking time.
you had to keep up with the magazines, the WWF, the WCW. I think ECW had one for a short period of time,
Yeah,
but then you also had like Pro Wrestling Illustrated, which was
right.
kind of dirt sheety, but not really. Then you
Right.
had like you did have your dirt sheet wrestling magazines as well,
Exactly.
but and for the most part, Pro Wrestling Illustrated wasn't real dirt sheet. Like there was a few things in there that was kind of like dirt sheet related, but for
Yeah.
the most part, it was built after going to all of these different shows and showcasing these different matches from different
Right.
shows and superstar or wrestlers from all around the country.
And it showed everything. You know,
Yeah,
if you couldn't
it,
afford WCW, WAF, and ECW magazine, you got PWI, and
and
PWI at
not
least showcased all three of them together.
and not only just those three, but it also showcased like up and comers on different local scenes.
Yeah.
Like it truly enveloped wrestling,
Right.
professional wrestling.
Yeah.
But no, I remember the days where you know I had my group of friends and we were all wrestling, you know, wrestling fans, elementary, middle school, and it was now our watch parties were always at one specific house,
Yeah.
but that's because his mom loved having all the kids there for the pay per views and watching us. Like when we
It
had
made
those.
her kid look popular.
Well, no, it wasn't that it made her kid look popular, but it was she got to see her son and her daughter, who
Right.
was younger, having fun together, and they weren't fighting with each other.
Right.
Now, did wrestling matches happen during these? Yes.
Yes.
I can't tell you how many
Yes.
times I jumped off the back of a couch trying to drop an elbow on someone.
I
It
can't
happened.
count the number of times that I walked up and delivered a Stone Cold Stunner to somebody because he got in my fucking seat.
Yeah, I mean
You have to go
it's
take a piss and you lose your seat. You might get power bombed.
um now wasn't anything like what happened when I was in like college. God no, it wasn't like we weren't literally making contact with each other, this, that, and the other. Um, Now
Shit.
college was a whole nother thing. I put someone through a real table, and we realized real quick why those tables looked like they did.
Oh
Um,
shit, dude! In gym class, man, we had matches. Like they would send us out for like just to do whatever we wanted and everything, and we'd go over to like the baseball field or everywhere we were, and on the backside of the baseball was the batting cage that the baseball team used for batting practice and everything. We'd fucking go in there and we'd have our own little wrestling like cage matches and shit in there,
yeah.
just having fun and shit. Like I remember one time being at one of the parties. I was at a buddy of mine's house and we were doing our own little wrestling thing and everything. I hoisted this fucker up for the razor's edge right there in the living room and put his head through the fucking ceiling fan. His dad come
Well,
out of the
see,
bedroom and was like, "What the fuck is going on?" I'm like, we might have broke the ceiling fan." He looked at it and was like, "Meh." It's like, "I've been meaning to replace that anyway." Turn around,
well,
went back
see,
in the bedroom.
like, and this is oddly enough, I'm going to end up turning this back into Hayman. But in college, it was me and four other dudes in a 3-bedroom apartment right next to the college.
Right.
Like that was we were college kids. That's
Exactly.
how we survived.
Right.
Um and I can tell you there was never a time where either of the two doors in the apartment were ever locked. People would just walk in and walk out of our house at random times. But there was always someone awake no matter what time it was.
Right.
Um but like Monday nights after Raw, two of us would go start grabbing mattresses and dragging them into the living room and rearranging the furniture into a wrestling ring. And
Right.
like, you want to talk about the difference from when I was in middle school, like early middle school to college was early, like elementary, early middle school. You were doing anything you could not to make contact with someone.
Right.
College, I'm getting a running start from the kitchen and hurling myself over a couch, clotheslining someone.
Right.
Like I'm coming through flying. It's like a flying clothesline from hell. I'm trying to lay this dude. Like I'm, I'm trying to make sure he don't kick out. Um, and to watch college kids, 18, 19, 20, 21 year old guys,
Right.
like Monday nights, our apartment was filled. And it wasn't because people wanted to watch Raw or watch it was because people wanted to see what was going to happen after.
Exactly.
And like it got to the point where someone had went and bought one of the little toy WWF belts, and we were running around. There was a time that my roommate, who was the champion at the time, he came home. It was him and his girlfriend, and I'll never forget it. And me and one of the other, we talked about this. I had a damn like a pizza cooking pan. I had it reared back, and as he turned the corner, I just blasted him right in the head. The cookie, like the cookie sheet, pizza sheet, kind of like formed to his head, and I just kept walking like it was a normal everyday thing. Takes the damn he took the pan off of his head and got hit with a damn clothesline, and I was crouched down behind him, so he hit the floor. The roommate jumped on him, and I counted 3 count, and he ran off with the title. And it was stuff like that that you would find randomly happening in our house.
And
Then we all got
that's the shit you don't see going on today.
well. Then we all started sitting down talking, and we were like, we all realized first time we really saw this and was like, we could do this or do something and have fun with this was watching ECW.
Oh fuck! Look at chat.
I don't even have chat pulled up.
Aislinn from the Discord says somehow this doesn't surprise me.
Oh no, it really does. Like I can't tell you. Like okay, so our apartment, the table incident. I will tell that story. I had a roommate who was like a big brother to me, and he looked at me. And he goes, "Man, I want to know how it feels to go through a table."
Say no more.
No, I just looked at him. I said, first of all, Kyle, where are we going to get a table? And second of all, who's going to be able to put you through a table? And he looks over and he goes, you? And I looked at him. I said, Kyle, I don't think I can put you through a table. He goes, no, yeah, you can. I've watched you powerbomb people here in the house. You can put me through a table. True story. I did knock someone unconscious with a powerbomb.
Why am I not surprised?
So I didn't quite doubt him on the could I put him through it? Probably.
Did I
So
want to? Yeah, I kind of did.
I kind of did. But he found a table. Just randomly found a table, folding table. He shows up to the house carrying his folding table. He goes, I found a folding table. My first question is, where did you steal that from?
Right.
He goes, no, it was out next to the dumpster at college. Okay, well, you didn't steal it. That's fair. Second of all, how's this going to work? He goes, easy. You're just going to power me. So we opened the table, set it outside in the little bit of yard we had at the apartment.
Just so matter of
and
fact, you're going to powerbomb me through it.
So I'm flat-footed on the ground, tables on the ground. I get him up, spin, power bomb. Table does not break. And I hear Kyle go, "Oh, that one didn't feel so good." I'm like, "Okay, we're done, Kyle. This is not happening." He goes, "No, we're not. I need you to get up because we had a little awning, concrete patio.
Right.
Wasn't it was big enough for like 2 people." He goes, "We're going to come off of that." I'm like, "Kyle, I'm gonna kill you." He goes, "No, you're not. I'm going through this table." So we get on the concrete patio. I get him up into the power bomb, and off this thing I go, and he goes through, I go through, and table is everywhere. And he's laying on the ground, and I'm like, Kyle, are you alive? He goes, I don't know yet. I might be dead. I'm like, and like as this happens, like people are showing up to our house. This is leading into Raw
Right.
Monday night. People are coming to our, or starting to get to our house. My girlfriend gets there, sees me power bombing Kyle off the porch through a table. These girls, so Kyle was like, a lot of girls were attracted to Kyle, like drawn to Kyle for some
Right.
reason. Kyle hardly ever dated anyone the entire time we lived together in this apartment. Like I can remember him dating two girls. That was it. For the rest of the time, he was just him. Didn't
Right.
give hey, cool, you can like me and whatnot, but I don't feel that way. Like all of these girls come flocking around us. My girlfriend kind of peels me off of Kyle. She's the only one asking if I'm okay. There's like 4 or 5 girls trying to make sure Kyle's still alive.
Right.
And he just kind of like slowly pushes himself out of this car wreck of a table and walks over to me and holds his hand out. He said, "All right, come on, get up." So I get up and I look at him. I said, "I don't think we're wrestling tonight." He goes, "Oh no, we're wrestling tonight." That just proved it. He goes, "But next time I tell you to put me through a table, can you not put so much force into it?"
You wanted to go through. I had to make sure you went through because you didn't go through the first time.
Well, I told him, I said, "Dude, if you didn't go through that time and like you were just laying on that table, I was jumping back on the porch and coming off, landing on top of. We were going through this table.
Right.
Like he had done incited me to the point where one of us was going through this table one way or another."
Exactly.
But that's again, it goes back to Paul Heyman being able to talk these guys into this frenzy. Like me and Kyle went from, dude, I'm not power bombing you through a table to, I was ready to jump and put myself through this table if I had to.
Hey, let me interrupt you there. We have a problem.
What?
I'm out of rogue.
See, that is a problem. So you know what you should do, right?
See. Here's how we're gonna handle this, chat. See,
You should
we're
have
gonna
bottles
take
of water
we're gonna take the
stashed
top
in the
off.
fridge.
Take the top off, right? And pull the top off with the spring water we got here, and we're gonna
There you
get a
go.
little water filling ASMR going on real quick. So we're gonna fill it on up.
So
All the
amazing.
way up. Put the top back on so you don't spill the water. Put that down here so it can trip me later when I get up.
Now, are you opening the tub now?
Now we open the tub. Here, let me
Okay.
give you a little
Wait.
tub.
Wait a minute.
ASMR.
That sounds lovely. Now, if anyone wasn't here at the beginning of the show, this is called Rogue Energy. You can use code Puppet Master with checkout and get 10% off.
See,
Just
one
saying.
scoop. Since 2 scoops. Now, if you want more energy, you can do more than that, but they recommend 1 scoop per 16 ounces. This is 28 ounces, so I did 2 scoops, so that's going to be a little extra energy. And I'm already feeling wired from it earlier.
A little extra.
Screw the top on, make sure it's down. Yeah, shake it up. Nice little purple color. Mainly because I'm running purple popsicle. And then I'll go ahead and just pull my tea out because that's going to be my backup. And then you put this in the fridge for later.
6. I'm not gonna lie. It's the first time I'm seeing you in a button-up shirt, man.
We're in flannel, man. It's cold in this fucking office, dude.
Okay, well that's fair, but it's still a button-up shirt.
Yeah. It's 30-something degrees outside, man. It's cold. And because of my vaping and everything, I got to keep the ceiling fan going. That way I can get some circulation in here so it's not a damn hot box.
True.
And everything, so... But yeah. Alright. Back on track. Paul Heyman working everybody up to a frenzy while I fill my tank up.
Yes. But then you go into now ECW's looks like they're having money issues. Sponsors are pulling out. TV deals are pulling out. Heyman's doing what he can to make sure people are taken care of,
right,
best that he can. And then he kind of gets this magical call of, Paul, why don't you go down and work at OV for us? So Paul Heyman, well, technically the invasion angle, WCW, ECW, and WWE happens. They do that angle. Paul Heyman kind of does commentary here and there between that. But then the next major thing is sending him down to OVW to work with these guys that are in the developmental system.
Right.
And this is where CM Punk gets signed and sitting down to the development. And Heyman's looking at them and is like, why are you sending me this guy? He should be on the main roster. I mean, I'm not complaining. I'm going to take this guy.
Right.
But, he really should be on the main roster. And essentially, CM Punk was sitting down there for him just to be fired. And Heyman's like, yeah, I'm not going to fire him. Y'all realize this, right? I'm going to use him.
Right. The guy's too good with a mic.
Yeah, and that's where the Paul Heyman, CM Punk relationship really began.
Right.
Punk was the first one in the building, last one out of the door. Sometimes he was there and he would look at Paul and be like, teach me just whatever.
Right.
He learned how to do production stuff. He learned how to do editing, do this, how camera angles, all that. Like, he learned
all the ins and outs
any aspect. Yeah. Any aspect of the business he could.
Right.
Now, you fast forward, 3-4 years later, and we're going to see Paul Heyman as CM Punk's manager during the Summer of Punk title reign. The title reign. I actually think it still might be the longest modern era title reign.
Right.
Not 100% sure on that, but if it's not, it's up there. It just one consecutive reign.
Right.
But you see that, and every time Heyman has a chance, he's pushing CM Punk. Y'all really you have no idea what you've given me here.
Exactly.
You really should be using him now.
You sent this guy down here for me to fire and everything, and now I took what was great and I made it better. So now you got to work with it.
Yeah, he's like, you really can't fire him.
Right.
I mean, he's your OVW champ. Can't fire him.
Right.
But then it was like Paul, let's do an ECW one night stand. It'll be ECW one night only, and we'll do it in the Hammerstein.
Right.
So they do ECW one night.
You're jumping way ahead.
No, not really.
Because that was 2005. Now we're also looking at from 2001 to 2003 when he was on the mic doing commentary, and then in 2002, 2003, he was Brock Lesnar's manager.
Yeah, I skipped the first. Yeah, the first round of Lesnar.
And then 2003, 2004, he was the general manager of SmackDown doing that.
Yeah. But the thing was, there wasn't really a whole lot. Like, so that time frame, there wasn't a whole lot that was really like Heyman showed out.
Right.
Like, Hayman didn't start showing out again until they sent him down to OVW to help with the development. And then he really shined again and kind of rebirthed his career. ECW One Night Stand.
Right.
Because when they did that first One Night Stand, Heyman came out and he was Paul. He was ECW Heyman. He had the duster. He had the headset. He had the phone. He had the mic.
The baseball cap.
Yeah, he had the baseball cap with the ponytail pulled through the back.
Right.
And that very first, like that promo at the beginning of the show with Heyman, where he said, "This is ECF and W, and this is One Night Stand."
Right.
Like that whole promo, like there was chills that went down people, like chills raised on people's arms. The fans in that arena were the ECW fans.
Yeah.
And they made it work, and it worked so well they did it a second time. And then ECW, or after the first one, I think is when ECW was born.
Yeah.
See, after one of them, the new ECW was born. But that second one, you had
2005, 2006, ECW is reborn.
Yeah. So you had RVD win the WWF Championship. You had Sabu challenging Rey Mysterio for the heavyweight title. And I know these were the second ones.
Right.
Because I won't ever forget RVD, John Cena. Cena throws his shirt out and they catch a sign that says, "If Cena wins, we riot." He throws his shirt in the crowd and the shirt throws it back.
The crowd throws his shirt back.
So he throws it to a different section of the crowd and they throw it back. He throws it again and it gets tossed back to him, and finally he just kind of slides it off to the corner. Like and it was because it was because this was the Hammerstein Ballroom. This is the birthplace of ECW, and these are the original ECW fans.
Exactly. They don't care about John Cena.
Dude, and I kid you not, I believe every second of that sign that said, "If Cena wins, we riot."
Yeah.
Cena riot line pay-per-view. Especially when he threw that shirt and it just kept getting launched back at him as soon as it made it to the crowd. It's like, y'all, all I'm going to say is Van Dam better leave with that title because I don't want to witness this.
Right.
But the promos.
What was this during that match? It was Van Dam versus Cena. Cena knocked out the ECW ref. Edge came in, speared Cena through a table, took out the SmackDown ref, Nick Patrick. Van Dam hit the 5-star frog splash. No referee. Hayman ran down. They all counted the pinfall. And then the next night on Raw, Hayman confirmed, because the championship match was contested under ECW rules, that the decision stood and Van Dam was the undisputed WWE champion.
Mm-hmm. So, but that first ECW One Night Stand, that promo, that started things. And then Hayman was now regularly back on TV.
Right.
He was cutting promos. He was representing these people. Then ECW was being reborn, and one of the very first new ECW homegrown stars was CM Punk.
Right.
Which is why technically CM Punk was in the ECW.
Right.
But it was under WWE ECW. I don't count that as
ECW. It was new ECW.
Now, do I count him as being a Paul Heyman guy? 100%, because he was.
He became a Paul Heyman guy when he was down in OVW.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And that's because Heyman saw what was there. Heyman knew what he was capable of.
Right.
And he went to Heyman and he's like, "Hey, teach me. Anything I don't know, teach me." And he literally hung with him. He taught him how to write and book for a show.
Right.
Like, there's not anything in the wrestling business CM Punk could not technically physically do. Any aspect of running a camera, production,
right,
all of that, like he could do it. Like, CM Punk became the Swiss Army knife of professional wrestlers.
Right.
But then along the way, ECW kind of doesn't work out as well as they had anticipated. ECW kind of got merged back into Raw and SmackDown.
Well, it come up to December to Dismember.
Yeah.
And that pay-per-view, and then after that, apparently they're on the corporate jet after the pay-per-view. Vince and Hayman had a verbal dispute about the booking for coming up, because they were, for the Elimination Chamber, they were going to book, Big Show in there and CM Punk. And in order to push Punk's career, they had it wrote where CM Punk would eliminate Big Show from the chamber via submission. Big Show actually agreed to it because he wanted to help CM Punk get over.
Mm-hmm.
And Vince didn't like that. Vince got pissed off and ultimately made CM Punk, the first one to be eliminated from the chamber, instead of having Punk win the way it was originally wrote in there. And then it wasn't too long after that when Stephanie offered an extension to Heyman's contract, and Heyman basically said fuck off and left. In 2006, he departed WWE and was gone for 6 years.
Yeah, and that's when he started his agency and like all of his other side businesses that he has now as well. But one of them was like an athlete representation agency or something like that. But one of his clients legitimately was Brock Lesnar, like because Lesnar had left and was doing the whole UFC thing. Well, Heyman wasn't in WWE. Heyman was legitimately his agent.
Right.
He was his real life advocate.
Yeah.
And then Lesnar comes back.
2012, Lesnar returns, and Paul Heyman comes back with him as his advocate.
Boom. And that's now you're getting more into the modern times of, hey, this is Paul Heyman most people now know.
Really? 8 years?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well,
but I mean,
it wasn't just with Lesnar, because I mean he was the advocate for Lesnar. He was advocate with CM Punk.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, but Lesnar coming back was the start to all of this now,
right.
because he also had Ryback and McGillicuddy or
Curtis Axel.
Yeah, Curtis Axel. But like, I mean, Heyman has had his hands involved with. Now, granted, mainly Lesnar, Punk. Like those are the two most notable up until recently.
Big name people.
Because Lesnar, WWE champion just about every time he came back. CM Punk, longest reigning modern day champion.
Right. Most notable Lesnar matches, I mean, obviously the streak, ending the streak at WrestleMania, but also the lopsided total beatdown of John Cena at
SummerSlam, I think.
Yeah. What did he deliver? 16, 18 suplexes to Cena in that match? And that's when he coined the phrase Suplex City.
I think it was 18, and that's where Suplex City was born, because
he was strutting around the ring. He goes, "Suplex City, bitch."
Yeah, it was like after
the next night.
It was after like 10 or 11.
Yeah.
And like when he dumped him, he got up and he looked. He said, "Suplex City, bitch."
And then the next night,
and then picked him up and suplexed him again.
And the next night, when he showed up on Raw, he's got a brand new T-shirt that says Suplex City. And then at that point, they started coining Suplex City for every city they went in. So it would say Suplex City, and then below that, it would have whatever city they were in that week on Monday Night Raw. And everything.
Oh yeah, no. I had one of the Suplex City shirts.
I've got one in my closet somewhere. I got the generic
I had
one.
it. Well, see, I had it, and it was the one, and it looks like it was, it's almost like an interstate exit.
Yeah.
Looking.
Yeah, the original one.
And it says Suplex City, and then at the very top was the little green insignia, and it would have whatever town.
Yeah.
Now, granted, Atlanta, like by the time they got here, it was just south, is what it said.
See,
which I hated, because I got it while I was at live show or live Raw in Nashville, and I wish it would have said Nashville on it.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
And see, I got my shirt when they first came out with this, right after he beat Cena, where it said Suplex City, and there was no city on it. So I got mine off the WWE shop.com, and it's like the original Suplex City shirt.
If I remember correctly, does where it would have the city, doesn't it say exit F5 or something like that?
Yeah, exit F5. I'd have to go back and see if I can find it. I don't even know where the hell it is. I ain't worn that thing in like 2 or 3 years. And I've also got an Eat, Sleep, Conquer, Repeat T-shirt as well from him.
But and when you stop and look at it, you've got like Heyman's tagged with Lesnar.
Right.
CM Punk comes out and does the pipe bomb promo.
Right.
Like Lesnar leaves again, takes his hiatus. Paul's not really being used on TV. CM Punk cuts his pipe bomb promo. Vince calls Heyman and is like, "Hey, I know your deal kind of has you just working exclusively with Brock, but how would you feel about working with someone else?" Heyman immediately shoots it down, and Vince goes, "But I haven't even told you who it is." He goes, "Doesn't matter. My contract says to work exclusively for Brock." Da 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 da. And then Vince just kind of keeps, but I mean, do you want to know who it is? And then finally, Paul goes, "All right, fine. Who is it?" He goes, "It's CM Punk." He goes, "I guess I'll see you Monday." Like,
right.
as soon as he said it was Punk, he's like, "Well, I guess I will see you Monday." And that's where that infamous, the the angle where Punk runs, gets in the car, and then the window rolls down. Punk and Heyman in the car. Well, when that was all going on, they're ducked down to where, in case the camera cuts back, no one's seen in the car. And that's where they have that little communication where Punk looks at Heyman and goes, "Can you believe that they're fucking doing this?" And Heyman goes, "You realize this means we're going to be fired in like 3 weeks, right?" He goes, "But do you know the shit we're going to stir in 3 weeks?"
Right.
And they were both just excited, like high schoolers. And then you have that run with Punk, the promos for leading into WrestleMania with Punk and Undertaker, and the whole Paul Bearer thing, and Heyman's involvement in that, and then Punk's on his way out of the door. Well, Brock's back, so there's the blow off match with Punk leaving. He has the match with Brock. Heyman has turned on Punk. He's with Brock. Punk leaves. Lesnar's still there. Heyman's still on TV. We get another title reign where we barely see the title because of that. And it genuinely was because of that limited appearance contract.
Right.
A part-timer contract. And yes, did it suck? It sucked not having your title on TV. Right. And it sucked not seeing the title defended like the title's supposed to be defended.
Right.
But I guess working with what you've got, you made your title an attraction as well as the actual attraction itself of Brock Lesnar.
Right. Plus
it made it special.
It lets you sell other stories.
Yes.
It really made the chase for the championship the top story instead of constantly seeing, like, what we got going on. I mean, you got Roman Reigns has the championship and Drew McIntyre have the championship. And every week, McIntyre's feuding with the guy that he's putting the title on the line. Whereas when Lesnar had the title as part-time and only defended it at the Rumble, at Mania, at SummerSlam, and Survivor Series, it really made that build-up and that chase real suspenseful. Because, I mean, you got the winner of the Rumble, Lesnar defends the title against somebody at Rumble. Then you got the Rumble match, and the guy that wins the Rumble is going to WrestleMania. But it also allows them to build up the February and March pay-per-view where the number one contender, can put that on the line against somebody else that, someone that may be more fitting. Because Otis, nobody expects Otis. Like when he won the Money in the Bank, nobody expects Otis to be a champion right now. He's not the caliber of guy that people want to see. And quite frankly, if Otis had won the Rumble back in the day, I'm pretty sure by February or March, he wouldn't be the number one contender anymore because nobody really wants to see Otis versus Brock Lesnar. It's not a match that you would expect to see. But then again, it could be one of the better matches. And you also don't expect to see fucking R-Truth versus Brock Lesnar, but that was pure comedy gold.
Oh my god.
That's pure comedy gold.
That was probably one of the best promos I've ever watched besides,
and I will
It,
eliminate you,
it's a
Paul Heyman, from the Rumble. I was like, I'm not even in the
it,
Rumble.
it's up there in like the top 10 promos, especially when he's like, and you a big, big.
And R-Truth is the only one to make Brock Lesnar actually break character and bust out laughing and damn near fall over laughing in the ring.
You know, not only that, but the fact that he done it, then Brock Lesnar wanted to do something with him, wanted to
Right.
work with him.
Right, and the best thing was the looks of that Paul Heyman was giving R-Truth when he was out there cutting his little gimmick, his little promo and shit. It almost makes you think did Paul Heyman not know this was gonna happen?
No, he didn't. Like the reactions that you got, the reactions Heyman had was legit. Paul didn't know, Lesnar didn't know.
It's just it's like, hey, R-Truth, go out there and spit some stupid shit. Let's see what they do. Let's see how they react.
Like the writers went up to him and they're like, "Listen, if anyone can get him to break character, it's going to be you." And there's a bet going that that we can get him to break character. We need your help. And Truth looks at him and goes, like, I don't necessarily think I want to go out here and cut this promo
just
to do this.
Go out there, declare that you're in the Rumble and that you're going to eliminate Paul Heyman from the Rumble. Let's see what they say.
They didn't even tell him what to say. They were like, "You're just going to declare for the Rumble and then not declare, then remove your declaration for the Rumble."
He just filled
like that was the only thing that he was given. He was like, "But we need you to get Brock Lesnar to laugh."
And I tell you, at that point right there, that shows the creativity on R-Truth, Ron Killing, right there, to go out there and cut this promo out of the blue.
Like, okay, so to take R-Truth, he gets that 24/7 title,
right?
Which is ragged on because of how just terrible it looks.
And he made that title what it is.
And then he gets it. And now it's the 24/7 7-Eleven I-65 South like now it's got this whole like it's got a paragraph for a name now.
It's got a gimmick.
It's the European Intercontinental Championship.
Right.
Like it is its own thing, and yes, R-Truth will lose it, and he will get it back before the end of the show.
Right.
Like that's given. I appreciate it. I enjoy it. It can stay that way, and I'm cool with it.
Right.
Like I like seeing R-Truth running and hiding. At one point, he dressed up like he was Carmella. He's dressed up like just random different things. He acted like he was a kid in the crowd.
At one point, didn't he get jumped in the airport and he actually go through the baggage, the conveyor belt?
No,
the baggage.
They were chasing him through the airport, and he laid on the conveyor belt with the luggage, holding the title.
It's a gimmick within a gimmick, and it fits. With R-Truth, it fits. You can't really do that with anybody else.
Yes, and it's what a lot of people don't like is comedic wrestling or just stuff to be silly. But I've not seen anyone really say anything negative about R-Truth's role with that 24/7 title.
Right.
Because it's enjoyable.
Exactly.
It literally makes you laugh, genuinely laugh, not thinking, "Oh my god, this is so stupid." It's literally.
Right.
Did they really convince him to lay on this luggage rack while it rolls through with everyone running by it?
Or did he do it on his own?
Yeah, because with him you don't know. Exactly. Is this one of my other favorite things was as you can tell, I like Funko Pops.
Right.
Right. Well, Mojo Rawley had the 24/7 title.
Right.
Mojo took a tour of the Funko headquarters, and as they're walking past different things, you just slowly see it. Like R-Truth is there, and then Mojo looks back and he's gone. He's hiding in one. He's got this whole Funko Pop get up.
Right.
mascot thing on, standing there in a pose, and then he takes the big, huge ass head off, and then rolls him up in the Funko warehouse or in the Funko headquarters,
and takes the title
and
back.
gets the 24/7 title back.
Now, didn't they do one in a wax museum where like R-Truth was like pretending to be like one of the wax figures or something? Or
I think they did. I don't remember who it was with. I know it wasn't. I don't remember who it was with.
because I
I'll be
remember like
absolutely
R-Truth was
honest.
like standing still like in a pose, and the
Yeah,
person come walking by is like, "Wow, that looks real."
yeah.
And then he turns around
Now
and walks away, and right as he does, Truth rolls
the
him
only
up and for the 3 count.
the only thing that I wish would have happened was when Gronk got the 24/7 title at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I was really hoping they were going to wait until the football season became like actually got going, and that they were going to get R-Truth on the field and roll him up in the middle of a play. Like, yeah, like that was the only thing I was hoping for. I'm like, we are fixing to see a title change during a football game.
Could you imagine
That's all
that
I'm
shit?
saying.
You imagine that shit? Like
It would have been hilarious.
Like Brady throws a pass to Gronk, Gronk catches it in the end zone, and
Starts doing the celebration
does the Gronk
dance.
spike, pulls the title out, and like celebrates or whatnot with the 24/7 championship, and then all you see is R-Truth running across the fucking field and just like rolling him up for the title.
Okay, so Gronk does the Gronk spike. He calls to someone from the sidelines to bring him the title. They get him the title, and as he's celebrating, the person that brings him the title removes some stuff, and it's R-Truth, and he rolls him up for a quick pin and out of the stadium. Like
It didn't even have to be like an actual event.
Yeah, it didn't.
Like WWE,
You
they could have
you could have got him at practice.
they could have done it with like worked with like the NFL, and it like didn't even have to be an actual game. It could have just been like a simulation type thing during a practice.
That's what I'm saying. You could have had him while they were practicing.
Well, no, it's like you're recording it, right? And like they're running a play, and you have like Gronk wearing the fucking 24/7 title, just showing it off for the fuck of it. And as he's running down the field, Brady goes to throw him a pass, and out of nowhere, like somebody on the defensive squad rolls up Gronkowski while he's running down the fucking field for the 3 count, and the pass misses becomes an incomplete pass, and then like the actual ref that would be on the field counts to 3, and then you see R-Truth just run off the field with the fucking belt or some
See,
shit.
here's the only thing, and here's why I think it should have been done during a football game. Now, you have this happen during a live football game.
Right.
Everyone sees it. You know it's not pre-recorded. It may have been pre-planned, but it wasn't pre-recorded.
Right. And the thing is, you'd have to pull a lot of fucking strings.
ESPN is going to be all over that. It is going to show on SportsCenter for 2 weeks.
Right.
Minimum.
And WWE's ratings go through the roof.
Like that was some. Yes, I understand. We were dealing with we're dealing with coronavirus. We're dealing with this. If you had reached out to the NFL and the coordinators, been like, listen, we have Gronkowski signed with a contract. We would like to do this to where it doesn't interfere with the actual game.
Right.
We want to get him in if he happens to get a touchdown and does the Gronk spike, we want to be able to have our guy run in. One of your refs can count the pin. It doesn't matter. They got stripes. It works.
Exactly.
One of your refs just runs up, counts 1, 2, 3, and he's out, and you're back to the game.
Exactly.
He was like, it could be a celebration gone wrong. Like, I guarantee you they would have went for it because
the NFL's
dealing
ratings
with
would have gone up. The WWE's ratings would have gone through the roof because it'd be all over international TV and shit.
But I mean, that's what I'm saying. Even though we were dealing with the virus, or we're dealing with the virus, we have all of these CDC guidelines for these different sports. Had you reached out and talked to someone, you could have made that happen,
right,
with ease, because everyone was trying to figure out how to get people to just to tune in and watch these games where there's no fans in the stadium.
Right.
What better way to do it than if Gronk gets a touchdown, R-Truth's either there in the end zone or sideline helping out, boy, whatever. And then he brings him the title, rolls him up. One of your NFL officials in the end zones counts 1, 2, 3. R-Truth holds the title up, clicks his heels, and runs off.
Right. Just jumps up and clicks the heels and is gone.
Yeah,
and
gone.
The game resumes. And that's it.
Gronk's in the end zone trying to figure out what happened.
Right.
And then they're back to the football game.
Exactly. Like, what the...
Gronk's on the sidelines while Tampa's defense is on the field. And you you catch a camera shot every now and then of Gronk just looking at someone like, what happened?
Right. Exactly.
Where was my team at?
What the...
Like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, you can't tell me that would not have benefited the NFL and the WWE all together simultaneously and not hurt either one.
Right. It'd be good publicity for both. It would have been perfect.
Especially in the time of the virus.
Because you would have people tuning in to the NFL just in case for the chance to see some of this sheer stupidity happen again.
Anytime Gronk was on that field or Tampa Bay was playing, wrestling fans would have been watching because he got that 24/7 title. That means it can be defended. He can lose that at any time, even in the middle of a game. You never know.
He could be in the middle of a huddle and R-Truth could just come right out there and boom, pulled him 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, like that's that easy.
Right.
They had one of the morning shows. They had an anchor from one of the morning shows win this title.
Right. They had the gobbledygooker.
Well, yeah, but that was WWE's thing.
Right.
But like I'm saying, like if they sent R-Truth out for an appearance, 9 times out of 10, R-Truth lost that title to someone at that show.
Right.
Like magically, this anchor person has his own WWE ref, rolls him up, counts him 1, 2, 3, and then the anchor man starts running, and R-Truth gets up and it doesn't even call him by the right name. Like intentionally.
Right.
Like he knows the man's name, but R-Truth's character, he doesn't know. He gets things confused. Let's face it.
Right.
And then, like the rest of the show, you just see R-Truth randomly appearing. Like, have you seen what's his name? And then near the end of the show, R-Truth rolls him up and gets the pin, and off he goes.
Right. Exactly.
But for a morning show, that's ratings. Exactly. That's hilarious. Like, not everything has to be super serious, super realistic. It could be silly, stupid, and still be entertaining.
Exactly.
And people like it.
Exactly.
But
it also comedy doesn't belong in wrestling and shit. But without comedy, wrestling is just boring.
Wrestling's just fighting.
Yeah, basically, it's just basically it's a grown man soap opera.
Now, that rolls back because we went on this whole sidebar of 24/7 title.
We tend to do that a lot.
Yeah, I know. But we roll back. R-Truth comes out. He cuts that promo on Lesnar. Lesnar breaks character. Paul Heyman has absolutely no idea what's going on. And this is where one of the other big things about Heyman, and one of the reasons I call him a goat on the microphone, he didn't have to say a word when it happened. It was his facial expressions.
Yeah,
go back to when Lesnar beat the streak.
Right.
Heyman is on the ring apron like this, just in shock and awe.
Just like the guy outside the ring, the
guy had him. The streak break face was better than Heyman's, but Heyman's on this just shock of disbelief. This really happened.
Right. And I was like, I truly believe.
Heyman can sell stuff.
When Undertaker, during the Undertaker Steve Austin podcast that he did, when Mark Calloway said, when Vince walked into the dressing room that day and basically just looked at him, and Mark Calloway knew at that point, Lesnar's going to win.
Streak's in.
And break the streak. I honestly believe that they did. They told Brock. They told Undertaker.
Brock knew.
They told both of them not to tell anybody else, including Paul.
Oh, yeah.
Because they wanted a genuine reaction from Paul.
The only people that knew was more than likely Vince, Hunter, Brock, and Take.
And the
Like
ref.
those were, yeah, well, yeah, and the ref.
And the
But I
ref.
mean, those were probably the only ones that knew.
That knew. Yeah. Because originally it was slated for Undertaker to beat Brock.
Yeah, Taker
And
was
then
going to
the
keep the
day
streak.
of the event, I think Undertaker said like an hour before they were due to go on, Vince walked into his dressing room, and at that point he knew. He was like, okay, I mean, that's the way it is. It's the way it is. Whatever you think is best for business is what we're going to do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to do business, but and he's went on to say, I think it should have been broken by someone like Kevin Owens or Roman Reigns, someone
Right.
who would have benefited from it.
Exactly.
Lesnar didn't need to be in the streak to be because he was already the beast incarnate.
Exactly. But then again,
He
you look
didn't
at it now,
necessarily need it, but
it
and
helped it
here's
helped
what I say about
seal the
that.
beast gimmick.
Yeah, and here's the way that I viewed this for a long time. Who realistically would have been able to break the streak at the time, other than Lesnar?
Nobody really. Because I mean, you look
Roman
at it.
Roman was not in the position
No,
to
Roman
even face
Roman
Taker for the streak.
Roman was hated by the fans at the time. The fans did not like Roman because they didn't want Roman. And if you had sent Roman out there against Undertaker and had Roman Reigns beat Undertaker, there goes Roman's career. Roman wouldn't be doing what he is now. He wouldn't be in the position that he's in now because he would be too hated by the fans even more.
Well, I mean, you stop and you look at it. WrestleMania 30 is memorable for two things. A, Taker's streak ended. B, Daniel Bryan's story came to a complete circle.
Right.
Came full circle. He faced Triple H, beat Triple H to get put into the title match.
Right.
And then Orton, Batista,
Right.
Bryan taps out Batista.
Right.
Boom. The underdogs. That was the two main things you need to do at Mania. And the main thing was up until the streak was Bryan.
Right.
Getting Bryan on that plane. Breaking the streak. In all honesty, I don't think it should have happened the same night that Bryan was winning.
No. Because
to me, it overshadowed Bryan winning the streak was broke.
Right.
21-1.
And the funny thing about the breaking over the streak is the fans hit the forums later that night and they indicated like when the match ended, like on the Titantron, the first thing that popped up was 22-0, and then it quickly went away and went 21-1. Which lets you know that nobody in the back knew what the fuck was going on.
Now, if you was going to end the streak, it shouldn't have been that one. It should have been 31 in San Francisco against Wyatt when it was Undertaker versus Bray, because Bray was calling himself the new face of fear at the time. Bray should have beat Taker then.
Right.
To become the new face of fear, the new supernatural whatever.
Right.
And then lead into the stories that he's got now with this whole Fiend. Like it now makes more sense how he's able to do this.
Right. Exactly.
Storyline wise and ideology wise, that's how that should have happened.
Yeah.
Now this is my opinion on it. I think that's how it should have happened. If you didn't end it there, then yes, the next victory or the next pinfall that he took after beating Lesnar was Reigns at 35. 34.
Right.
Whichever one it was, 34 or 35. But I mean that's when the next victory should have been. That's when the pinfall should have been. When it was Reigns and Reigns was in that position where okay, now we got to make him. We've got to make him. He's calling himself the big dog. This is his yard. That's Taker's thing. This is my yard. This is the passing of the torch. Yes, this is now Roman Reigns' yard.
Right.
I think it would have went over just fine.
Yeah.
That one.
Right.
Either Wyatt winning, taking the pinfall, and becoming the new Phenom character, Face of Fear, into what he is now, or Reigns beating him for the first time at Mania, ending the streak. That one of those two should have been the end of the streak. That's my opinion, and the reason I say that, it makes your future superstar.
Right.
Like, don't get me wrong, yes, they're superstars, but this solidifies.
Right.
This man was able to put Taker down at Mania, which no one could do.
Right.
Roman Reigns beat him, and then it's like, yeah, but I mean, Brock Lesnar beat him.
Yeah, he already beat him, so now it's nothing.
Like, it took that away.
Right. And it doesn't. I don't know. The way they did it doesn't make sense, mainly because Lesnar was already over. Lesnar was already at the height of his career.
Lesnar did not need the streak in order to be.
And it did nothing for Lesnar's career.
Exactly.
If anything, it helped Hayman. Because now on Heyman's resume, Hayman can now say, I was the advocate for the guy that beat The Undertaker.
Now, Heyman's promo the night after Mania.
Yeah.
Eat, sleep, conquer, repeat.
Yeah.
And then he goes, actually, it's more eat, sleep, defeat the streak.
Break the streak.
Yeah.
Repeat. Yeah.
And literally, that's all he said.
Eat, sleep, conquer, break the streak, is what it was.
Like
that's what it was beforehand. Because
yeah.
Because the shirts were going around said eat, sleep, conquer, break the streak, and then after that, the shirt changed to eat, sleep, conquer, repeat.
Yeah. And then Heyman goes out on Raw the next night after Mania and says, "Eat, sleep, conquer, repeat." That's all he says, and then they leave.
Right. Exactly.
He didn't have to say anything else.
And I still remember, after the Shield broke up, and they were talking about, Seth Rollins had the title. He came in, he stole the title from Lesnar during the Lesnar Reigns match at Mania.
At 31.
31, he cashed in, won the title, and then it was it was coming up on SummerSlam, I think it was. Everybody that they threw at Seth Rollins, he was able to defeat with ease. And then Triple H came out with that whole, diamond or piece of coal under pressure. One of two things is going to happen. Either it's going to crack or it's going to mold into the diamond that you want it to be. And then he looked at Rollins and he was like, so now what is it going to be? Are you going to crack under pressure, or are you going to be the diamond that we think you are? Bless you. Bless you. And then Rollins was like, bless you. Gesundheit.
Thank you.
And then Rollins is like, I'm ready. And then Lesnar's music hits, and out walks Hayman with Lesnar, setting up Rollins' next feud.
Yeah, but Rollins didn't get that feud.
Yeah, he did. He won it against Lesnar.
No, he didn't. Not when he won the title, because he tore his ACL at a house show, and he had to drop the title. Lesnar never got the title from Rollins, because Rollins stole the title, and then Lesnar was gone. Then the brand split happened. The Universal title happened. Owens gets the Universal title. And I think the next time Lesnar has the title it's the Universal Championship.
Okay, so he took the WWE Championship, but he never faced Lesnar for it. Okay, because I remember that whole gimmick, the whole scene that they did when Lesnar came back, and Rollins was scared shitless.
Mm-hmm.
At that.
Yeah, and they were leading into that because I think that was going to be Rumble,
and then Rollins
or something like that, and then Rollins blew his knee out in at a house show.
Okay. Right. And I remember like when they were talking about like the next opponent for John Cena way back right when Brock Lesnar was scheduled to come back. And then out comes Paul Heyman walking down to the ring, looks at Cena, looks at Triple H, sticks his hand out, shakes Triple H's hand, and then leaves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. And at that point,
Yeah,
everyone knew it was like, okay, well, I guess John Cena's facing Brock Lesnar at
yeah,
SummerSlam.
and like that was the thing. Like the knee injury really that like they had to change storylines at that point because
Right,
he was out. He was going to be out for 6 months
right,
or more, and you got to make the shift. But it goes to show, like Heyman can come out and not say a word, still get the point across.
right,
Um, and then you go through those time periods. He's the advocate. The undisputed, reigning, defending Universal Champion. He goes through his spiel, and then Lesnar's gone. Contract expires. Oh no,
right.
we don't have Paul Heyman on TV.
What do you do?
Roman's gone because the corona, because of the virus and his health issues.
Right. Leukemia.
Ro- Roman returns. Roman hasn't really said much. Roman signs a contract and then looks over and Paul Heyman sitting beside him. And now we're where we are now
The bloodline.
of the bloodline, Heyman, Reigns, the story that's being told through that. Um, and Heyman is not the advocate; he's the special advisor.
Special counsel or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, special counsel
Right.
to the tribal chief. And I'll be honest, this shows you that Paul doesn't have to be on the microphone to make it work.
Right.
Like Paul is a heater, or what they would call in wrestling a heater.
Right.
You put Paul Heyman with someone, and you're not going to like that person.
Right. Everybody that's represented by Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman is a heel.
Because you stop and think about it. Roman Reigns wins the title. He relinquishes the title because his leukemia's come back. He's got to go take care of that.
Right.
He goes and takes care of it, and then he's back.
Right.
And it doesn't matter what you had planned. The man had to quit what he was doing to battle cancer and beat it and
Right.
came back. No one is going to hate that person.
Exactly.
You cannot boo that person.
Right.
But Corona happens. He pulls out of Mania. He stays off TV until he feels like it's safe to come back. He comes back, and the feud that he comes back in the middle of is Braun Strowman and The Fiend. The Fiend gets the title from Strowman, and then Reigns just spears the dog shit out of The Fiend.
Right.
And then comes to the outside and spears the dog shit out of Braun, hits him with a chair 3 or 4 times, says, you wouldn't be a monster. You're not a monster if I'm not here.
Right.
And gets in the ring, hits Fiend again with a spear, and walks out. And just, leaves. Like, you... That was the start of the turn.
Right.
And then you have him come out, and he doesn't really say much. He acts like he owns the place. Okay, yeah, maybe I might want still, it's hard to not think that he battled leukemia. Like he had to give up the title and leave to take care of that, and then came back.
Right.
And then he left again to make sure that he was healthy because he had a newborn. You can't be around people and potentially bring this to a newborn because there's no way the newborn's going to survive it.
Right.
You respect that. Like that, when you respect a man's actions, it's hard to not like them.
Exactly.
So we give you the contract, you sign the contract, and you look over, and it's a man everyone loves to hate that you are now siding with. It's really hard not to want to boo you at this point.
Exactly.
I don't really like you now because now you're doing some underhanded shady.
Right.
Hey, am I saying it's a bad thing? Not at all. I think it's amazing.
Yep.
Like, this is how you should turn someone from being a fan favorite to someone people want to boo. This is how it should be done. It makes sense. It's logical. I was gone this long because I was making sure I was healthy and my family was healthy,
Right.
and y'all just forgot who I was.
Exactly.
All right, let me remind you who I am.
Yeah.
Oh, you still think I give a crap because you didn't give a crap when I left? All you want to do is say all this. Okay, cool. I have a special counsel.
Right.
He's going to give the orders that I give him.
Exactly. And he's gonna sell my story with his looks.
And who is it? The one person people love to hate. The one person that was associated with man who hijacked the title.
Right.
You have the advocate of the beast. And now he's the special counsel to the chief.
Right.
Like, I mean, it makes sense. Brock Lesnar's not there. Who's next? Who's the next big guy in order? Well, the guy that beat Lesnar 2 or 3 times. Well, that's him. All right, cool. I mean, logically, it makes sense.
Right.
And not only that, but Roman can talk.
Yeah.
Roman doesn't have to have Paul Heyman talk.
No, but it helps.
But Paul Heyman can interject when it's needed.
Right.
Just like that angle they shot Friday with Adam Pearce. Roman grabs Adam up by the collar and the tie, and he has him in the corner, and Heyman, you just hear Heyman come up, and you hear him, as your special counsel, I do not think this would be a wise move.
Right.
Again, it's your decision, and I'm behind you, but as your special counselor, I wouldn't do this.
Right.
And just kind of and just slowly backs off. And you see Roman kind of get that smirk, and he fixes Adam Pearce's shirt and jacket, and he backs up, and he goes, "You know what? You're right."
Right.
And he technically wasn't on the microphone. He said it audibly enough to where the microphone would pick it up slightly.
Right. Because there's not an actual crowd, it's piped in noise, but the mic is still hot. It can still pick it up because of everything that's going on.
And it would, to me, Friday Night SmackDown this past week, the best thing on it was the storyline of Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, Paul Heyman, Adam Pearce, and the Gauntlet match.
Right.
And people may not know who Adam Pearce is, and that's fine.
Right.
But it's one of those things. Adam Pearce is a former NWA heavyweight champion. That's a hard title to get your hands on.
Right.
That's a hard title for the NWA to be like, you know what, you can represent us. Especially when they were trying to rebuild.
Right.
Like that's a lot of, and Adam Pearce was a very good wrestler.
Right.
Scrap Daddy. the Scrap Daddy Adam Pearce. And the nickname of Scrap Daddy was because he liked to get in fights. Now, the super kick Jey Uso gave him, I don't know if you watched it yet or not, but he sold that like Jey Uso kicked the soul out of him. Huh.
Not yet, but
Cut
I see
out.
it over here. I'm gonna watch it after the podcast in
I,
a bit.
I'm telling you, he looks like he kicked the soul out of the man. Like, it was very well done. The story was very well told.
Right.
Um, but there again, it goes to show you it's Paul Heyman
Right.
working the way that he knows how. And Paul may not talk on SmackDown, but if you watch Talking Smack, Paul is one of the co-hosts on Talking Smack.
Yeah.
There was an interview or some words said between him and Big E that was very, very good. There was a angle between him and Kevin Owens or him and Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
That was very, very good.
Right.
It's one of those things on. You may not have to have him on the main show to let him talk. Put him on the after show that comes on your network.
Yeah.
Which Talking Smack, Raw Talk, and the podcast. If you don't have a WWE Network subscription, you can still watch those. They're in the free version. Why they now have a free and then the subscription, I don't know, because literally the only thing you get on the free version is like the after shows and the podcast, video podcasts. But hey, it's there.
Right.
Check it out.
It's only $9.99.
Yeah, if you want everything that's on the network, it's $9.99.
Right.
Which you do get independent wrestling that's not WWE that's really good.
Right.
Just throwing that one out there. But yeah, like you get these different things, or you see these different aspects of Heyman's personality or character, and whether you like him, whether you don't like him, genuinely, he is one of the goats on a microphone.
Exactly.
Like, there's no way around it.
The man knows what to say, scripted or not, and he has no problem with improvising. As you saw with the whole R-Truth Royal Rumble gimmick that they threw out there not too long ago.
Oh,
so
here's another one. There was a Raw that took place in Chicago. Lesnar, Heyman. Heyman was supposed to open the show. Heyman was synonymous with CM Punk, and you're in Chicago. What do you think's going to happen? There is going to be that infamous chant that everyone hears. So what does Heyman do? Heyman goes out to CM Punk's theme. Stands in the ring, and they start chanting CM Punk, CM Punk, CM Punk, and Heyman goes, "Yeah, I know him. But you're not going to see him anytime soon."
Right.
And then goes on with his promo, and the crowd instantly stopped the CM Punk chant. The only man that knows how to control a crowd. And yeah, he knew they were going to do it, so why not just feed into it? Kill it quicker.
Exactly.
The promo between him and Vince McMahon, where Vince McMahon said, "Go out there and make me money," and he pretty much let McMahon have it.
Right.
And he was like, "Vince, are you sure you don't want to know what I'm wanting?" No, you're fine. Go out there and make me money. And he used his dad's name.
Oh, damn.
Like Heyman legitimately looked at him and said, "Vincent, what would your father, Vince McMahon Sr., think of what you've done?"
And the funny thing is about Paul Heyman, you give him a mic, he's going to make gold.
And Vince knows that. And Vince
you put him on commentary, your commentary is going to be gold. It doesn't matter. And you don't even give him a mic. You pair him up with Roman Reigns.
And here's the thing on that. Like, going back with what you were saying, you give him a mic or you put him on commentary and it's going to be gold.
Right.
not many good things can be said about Vince McMahon at times, but one thing that I can say is when Vince knows you can do it, Vince gives you the mic and trusts you. That's how the pipe bomb promo happened.
Right.
He handed Punk a mic and said, "Go out there and air your grievances."
Right.
Like he gave him a live mic to let the entire world.
Right.
Like, and the reason he done it was he knew he was going to get bad mouthed.
Right.
He knew it. He knew he was going to go out there and say things that he didn't want being said on TV, but he knew that he could trust Punk enough, and knew that with CM Punk having that microphone, it's going to be gold. It's
Right.
going to make money.
And he knew
And I think
by cutting the mic off that people were going to tune in the next week to see what Punk was going to what Punk is going to do after that.
But not only that, that was the build up to Money in the Bank, which that year I think was their highest viewed, like the biggest buy rate and pay-per-view sales that they had for the year.
Right, because it was Punk's last day of the contract, and they wanted to see if he was going to
everyone wanted to see
with the championship.
Yeah, everyone wanted to see if we were going to get another Montreal incident, or was Punk really leaving this company with their hardware.
Right, and then Punk goes out there, wins the championship, and then the next night on Raw, he comes back.
No, he doesn't.
I thought he came back the next week.
No, he was gone for a month, almost 2 months.
And that's right, because when he came back with new entrance music, and
when he came back, that's when they did the Cult of Personality, and and the whole reason he came back was John Cena had won that tournament to crown the new WWE champion. And CM Punk comes strutting out and looks Cena in the eyes and holds up the title that he beat him for.
Right.
That still had John Cena's name played on it.
Because they never changed it.
Okay, in real circumstances, CM Punk had signed a new contract that day.
Yeah.
Before the match. But
it was the build-up.
Vince trusted him enough to let him make it look like he was gone.
Right. Give him some time off. Let the crowd
and they even did this
else, and then bring him back.
They did a whole angle with it where they went to Comic-Con, and WWE had a panel at Comic-Con, and they were doing the fan Q&A. In comes Punk, and Rey Mysterio and John Cena are there, and they were two that were fighting, that were in the finals for that new championship. And he told them both, he said, when you really want to see who the real champion is, you know where to find me. And left.
Right.
Like, he had free range. He could have went to ROH. He could have pinned it with that title. And nothing was going to be said. He had free range to go where he wanted to and do what he wanted to.
Right.
As long as he did not have a wrestling match.
Right. All right.
Like, that was the only step to it.
Yep. All right. We are at our 2-hour threshold for our podcast. So let's kind of get back in for a few minutes. Let's discuss where is Paul Hayman going to go from here? 54 years of age. He doesn't show any signs of leaving the wrestling business until he dies. He's with Roman Reigns right now.
In all honesty,
does he continue that storyline, or does he branch back off if Brock Lesnar comes back?
I think that storyline continues, and it's like me and you've had this discussion off the show. If they bring Lesnar back, they put Lesnar on Raw. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They put Lesnar on Raw.
Heyman on both Raw and SmackDown.
Because Raw's ratings are taking the hit.
Right. SmackDowns are looking pretty decent, but it's Raw that's
I mean, granted they're still not what they should be, but they're better than Raw.
Exactly.
If you get Brock Lesnar to sign a new deal, come back for a limited amount of appearances, You put him on Raw.
Right.
I mean, you're doing the shows out of the same building.
Exactly. It's
I
not
mean,
like he has to
granted,
travel to two different cities.
next month they're moving Thunderdome to Orlando,
Right.
but I mean, still, you're shooting the entire month of shows out in. You're shooting them out of Orlando, that
Right.
arena now. Everyone's already going to be there.
Right.
Fly Lesnar in, have Lesnar do his thing, have Paul Heyman there. Hey Heyman, we'll see you Friday.
Exactly. Enjoy your 3 days with your family. We'll see you Friday.
I mean, there's not an issue with having him represent, be the advocate for Brock and the special counsel to Roman, unless you spin it to where Brock Lesnar has a problem with it, and now Heyman's kind of stuck in the middle. What's he going to do? How's this going to play out?
Right. And now you've got a feud between SmackDown and Raw with Roman and Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
Now I got one hypothetical for you, and then we're going to get into discussing our upcoming schedule.
Okay.
Hypothetically, let's say Heyman's contract is coming to a close with WWE.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's say Tony Khan approaches Heyman with more money to come to
He wouldn't
AEW.
go. He wouldn't go.
Even though the talent that is over there that he could help and influence better.
Who
would you put him with if he went to AEW?
Oh, if he went, I know exactly who I'd put him with.
Who?
I'd put him with Adam Page. I'd put him with Hangman.
I mean, no matter what, whoever the man touches becomes gold. So if he were to leave the WWE and go to AEW, AEW would, whoever they put him with would be through the roof, regardless.
I either would put him with Hangman, because Hangman does have a little bit of issue promo wise.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think the person that breaks the one wing angel and takes the title is Adam Page.
Right.
But you got to stop and think. You've got Don Callis in the corner of Kenny Omega, and then you've got Hangman, and Gallows and Anderson have an issue with Heyman as is. So what better way to fluster them than to have Heyman in your corner? Because if you fluster them, they're too distracted with the fact that Heyman's at ringside.
Right.
To try to even get involved in the match. And Heyman can neutralize Don Callis on a microphone any day of the week.
Right.
So if we're fantasy booking it, that's how I would book it. You would have Heyman come in and rub that special Heyman magic
Right.
over Hangman to solidify your next face of the company.
Right.
Now, realistically, if Heyman chooses not to stay with WWE, I don't think he'll go to another company, just out of the respect that he has for the McMahon family.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that by any means whatsoever. Because it works. They know if they ever need Paul Heyman, they can get Paul.
Right.
If they need him to help with the story, they can call him and be like, "Hey, we need help with the story," and he can help. Honestly, what I think next for Heyman is Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
If nothing else, the stuff that he's doing with Roman Reigns right now is solidifies his Hall of Fame.
Right.
Because now he's barely even talking, and he's still getting guys over and getting them heat.
Right.
Like, I can't think of anyone else that was able to do that except for like Bobby Heenan.
Right.
Ric Flair could, but he was also a wrestler.
Exactly.
But like in non-wrestling wise, it was Bobby Heenan, mm, Sherry Martel,
Right.
J.J. Dillon. Beyond those, I can't think of anyone else that could do it
Right.
other than Paul Heyman.
Paul Heyman is the GOAT on a microphone. Whether he announcing or he's an advocate for somebody or whatnot, he's a fucking GOAT even when he's not on a microphone. Just the looks that he
Like,
gives and shit like that when Roman's out there. The best part is when Jay lost a match during one of the pay-per-views and he was standing outside of Roman's quote-unquote dressing room pacing back and forth, and Paul Heyman came out and just looked at Jay and just kind of hung his head down and shook his head and then walked off. And and Jay sold it because at that point, Jay, when Paul wasn't happy, he knew that Roman was
Roman
furious
wasn't.
and
Yeah.
everything. It's like just that little interaction right there between Jay and
Like,
Paul Heyman. Paul didn't even have to say nothing. He just walked
so
out and just conveyed the feeling of what was going on, the tension in the dressing room of it. And that was it.
So for me, the reason I say he's one of the goats, and I say one of the goats on a microphone,
Right.
there's 4 people that can pick up a microphone, and I enjoy 5 people that can pick up a microphone, and I enjoy listening.
Yeah.
Paul Heyman,
Right. For sure.
Chris Jericho,
Okay.
CM Punk,
Definitely.
Ric Flair, Jake the Snake.
Right.
I also Piper. So there's 6. Rowdy Piper promos or Piper's Pits, I love. But
See, for
those,
me, it's those people, but also sprinkle in a
well,
little
and
bit of
Dusty.
Dwayne Johnson because he's
Say
good. He's good with a mic.
I'm not big on Rock's promos though. Like they're
See,
all roughly the same.
Yeah, but see, for me, he's good with a mic. And then, as much as I don't really care for the guy, John Cena can cut a decent promo from time to time. Not all the time, but from time to time. You give him a mic, he's pretty good with it.
I can agree with that one.
And I think that's pretty much it for modern.
Like I can definitely agree with. From time to time, he can cut a damn good promo.
And I will say now, Roman Reigns. What's up, Bears? Welcome in, dude. Roman Reigns now that he's under Paul Heyman and Paul Heyman's coaching him and helping him out, Roman Reigns can cut a pretty good promo now.
Like in all honesty,
when he first started, no, he wasn't that good on a mic.
So with John, here's my thing with John Cena. If you pair with Cena with someone who's not necessarily weak on the microphone, but is okay on a microphone, Cena can get a Cena has the promo.
Speaking of that, whenever they paired John Cena and Roman Reigns on a mic,
but no, that's what I'm saying. That's prime example.
Right, Roman Reigns screwed up, and John Cena basically roasted him.
As John Cena is someone that is either not that is like right below him, like right. If they're below his level promo wise, Cena does good on a promo. Right. But if they're right there with his level or over him, Cena is wiped. The floor is wiped with him on a microphone.
Yeah,
and that's and that's not knocking anything about John Cena because I mean he's good on a microphone.
Right.
But when they paired him and Roman Reigns was not solid on a microphone.
No.
That's why Cena's promos look so good in that.
Right. Especially
and like because Cena was pointing out that he is not good, that Roman was
exactly. When Roman fumbles something and Cena is just like, I'll wait.
Now, you put him on the microphone against like Chris Jericho, you put him in a promo against, I'll even say you put him in a promo against Roman Reigns now.
Yeah.
Cena's not going to look as good on a microphone.
Right.
Cena did not look as good on the microphone when he was doing stuff with Bray Wyatt leading into 36.
Right.
Because Bray is better on that microphone than he is.
Right.
Like, and that was the downfall. That was the takeaway. Cena, microphone wise, should be able to get in there and hold his own the best.
Right.
The promos between Cena and The Rock,
Yeah.
for their 2 WrestleManias,
The singing
like,
award that they did.
yeah, like that's the, you know, those promos showed how weak Cena was on a microphone
Right.
when it was someone at his level or better.
Right.
When it should have been when someone is at his level or better, he should be able to push himself to be better.
Exactly.
And when someone is not, he should challenge them to push themselves, which he does that just fine.
Right.
But he doesn't push himself to be up there with the likes of The Rock, Chris Jericho, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Ric Flair, Arnett. Like, he does not put himself up there in that upper echelon on promos. But he doesn't have to.
Right.
I mean, that's sad to say, but he doesn't have to.
Right.
He can let his title reigns, his merch sale, he can let all of that do the talking for him.
Exactly.
And that's fine. And he can wrestle. When he first started out, could he? Nah, not that great, but he can now.
Right.
I think he's great in the ring when he gets in the ring.
When he's not being Mr. Hollywood now.
Yeah, and again, that's fine.
Right.
You know, but the thing that I always said, like in my opinion, that keeps Cena from being considered a GOAT is he got to a certain level with his promos and he just stopped.
Yeah.
He never got better.
He plateaued.
Like you tell me, or if you ask me, Mount Rushmore best on the mic, Cena's nowhere near it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't look at me and say Cena can outperform Ric Flair on a mic, even now.
Oh hell no. No.
You can't tell me that Cena could outperform Rowdy Piper in his heyday on a mic.
No.
You can't say that he can outperform Paul Heyman on a mic.
Oh hell no.
He could not outperform Bobby Heenan on a mic. He could not. I'll even go as far as to say this: he could not cut a better promo than Hulk Hogan in his prime.
Right. Hell no, brother.
Like, I cannot look at. I cannot sit here and say Cena would be on my Mount Rushmore.
Right.
He wouldn't. I mean, would he be in like the top 50? Yes, I'd give him top 50. And I don't mean like he'd be 49, 50. He'd be like
Mid
20s, 30s. Yeah, like he'd be middle of the pack. But to me, there's people that are better all around from all of the errors than he was. Now, is he in that top? He's in that top echelon. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
He is. But Mount Rushmore for me, no. Mount Rushmore of Mike's skills, no. That not saying he can't cut a promo because he can.
Right.
But he had, it's like you said, he plateaued. Like he got to a certain level and he just stayed there. He was comfortable there.
Right.
You asked me, I'm gonna ask you. He chooses to leave. Paul Heyman chooses to leave WWE. Tony calls him. What would you do?
You know, I want to say I'd pair him with somebody like Cody Rhodes, but Cody doesn't need Paul Heyman to get over. Cody's doing fine on his own. I don't know, man. I mean, there's so much talent over there for him to work with.
Oh yeah, like talent. So if Cody wasn't paired with Anderson, I would say Cody. If FTR wasn't paired with Tully, I would say FTR. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna change that. I wouldn't pair him with Adam Page. I'd pair him with Shawn Spears. In all honesty, I'd pair him with Shawn Spears.
Yeah.
Now that I stop and think about it, I'd pair him with Spears and let Spears just take off.
Right.
Because he has the ability, he's got the potential, he has the look, whole 9 yards. And Shawn Spears can work a mic.
Right.
Or well, if you're not familiar with him, there he was Ty Dillinger WWE.
Yeah.
The perfect 10.
Right.
But not pair him with Shawn Spears because Shawn Spears can work a microphone. I would love to see what him and Paul Heyman came up with together.
Yeah.
In a promo, because I think that would blow. I think that would blow just about anyone in AEW out of the water on a microphone,
Yeah.
and that's potentially including Jericho.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk schedule.
Yep.
All right. Next podcast coming to you next week, 118, will be stables over the years. So we're going to touch base on many of the stables that have existed.
Is that the one that we weren't sure what it was going to be, or
No, that's
is that
120.
the week after?
That's 125. That one's still
Okay.
question mark.
Wait. I've got this. Move
Okay.
stables over the years into that spot.
Okay.
And move the question marks to NXT/AEW New Year shows.
So 125 do stables.
And then next week we'll do our takes on AEW and NXT's New Year's events. And that takes care of that one that we weren't sure what we were going to do with.
Okay. And then on February 1st will be the Royal Rumble.
Yeah. For the 25th, do you want to see if Corey wants to jump in?
Yeah. I'll get with Corey, and we'll see if we can get him in. 2/8, 2/15. We'll talk offline about those. Figure out what we want to fill in those gaps with, and we'll go from there. I mean, that's what we got right now. So
now, tentatively, I will say at some point we need to do a Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
Because I think my take and your take on Mount Rushmores are going to be different, but they're going to be interesting.
Yeah, for sure. So on that note, we are going to conclude this podcast for this week. Not too bad, 2.5 hours, a little 30 minutes over what normally we do, but hey, when you've got the GOAT Paul Heyman as your topic, it's hard to stay within bracket. So
yeah.
For those of you, you know what? Actually, I'm going to give my outro. I'm 617. I stream here on Twitch, twitch.tv/617. The 7 is spelled SEV3N. For those of you that are listening to this once we get it uploaded, I'll kick it over to you, Puppet.
I'm Puppet Master 2191. You can find me on Twitch. Most people just call me Puppet, but you can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/PuppetMaster2191. You can also find me here on this podcast, or generally just about anywhere. Mainly streaming on Twitch, though.
Right. Catch the podcast on YouTube at SAP Wrestling on YouTube as well. And I'll let you give that spiel.
My favorite part of this is don't forget, if you are watching on YouTube, please remember to subscribe, like, ring the notification bell. It helps us out and gets us in that algorithm for this, and it's greatly appreciated. Also, don't forget to leave your comments, give your takes. Exactly. We like hearing them.
Give us your opinion on stuff. Give us your opinion on Paul Heyman. What you think of Paul Heyman. Actually, you know what? I'm going to pose this question for YouTube. If you are watching this on YouTube, or if you're listening to this whenever we upload it, If Paul Heyman were to leave the WWE and go to AEW, who would you, the viewers, the listeners, want to see him paired up with? Leave that down in the comment section. If you're listening to this, drop on over to our YouTube page at SAP Wrestling, SAP Wrestling. Find this video, leave your comment on who you would like to see Paul Heyman with in AEW, and we'll go from there.
I'm truly intrigued. I can't wait to see some comments for that one.
Exactly.
Because I will talk wrestling all day long and not be phased one bit by it. So
this coming from the man that when he was
6
months old, sat up to watch wrestling. So on that note, we're gonna sign off. We will catch you next week as we go over AEW NXT's New Year events.
Also, don't forget, if you're looking for an alternative in energy, go to rogueenergy.com, code PuppetMaster.
Rogue Energy.
I had to one last time.
Last time.
It felt right.
You fucking dude, I'm going to put something in the podcast for Rogue Energy. Fuck it. They may not know it yet, but they're officially sponsoring us.
Hey,
All right,
they're sponsoring us. We're sponsoring them. However that works.
Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see y'all next week. Peace.
Peace.